Okay. Okay, first of all, let us put our palms together and take this time to pay our homage to our Supreme Buddha. We are going to learn the wisdom of the Buddha, and we will pay our homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Dear friends in the Dhamma, I'm very glad to see you all in this evening, and it is morning for me here, and to share the Dhamma today with you. Today, I would like to take some time with you to discuss an important issue that we all experience in our life, that is disappointments. And what we can learn from the teachings of the Buddha to deal with those moments in our life, and how we can actually even use those moments of disappointment to improve ourselves. So I would like to start with the context of this topic. As you know, this when we hear the word disappointments, we have to find out exactly what Buddha has said about this, and definitely Buddha has seen the disappointments as part of the Four Noble Truths, the part of the first truth. We know that whole teachings of the Buddha can be put within the framework of the Four Noble Truths, and in this structure, when Buddha described the truth of suffering, or dukkha, or truth of dukkha, and he explains few instances where we will experience dukkha. Of course, old age is dukkha, sickness is dukkha, departing from loved one is dukkha. In that way, Buddha has given few instances where we experience dukkha, and in such one important instance is called in Pali, yam piccang nalabhati tampi dukkham. That means not getting what one desires is suffering. Not getting what one desires is suffering. Means that one's become disappointed with one's desires, and what we want something, but that thing doesn't happen. So that is the eighth kind of suffering that we will get, an eighth kind of example of the dukkha, the suffering Buddha has explained. So therefore we can see that and Buddha has given an attention to this common experience that we are all going through. And then Buddha has given advice also, and definitely as the whole practice of the Buddha's teachings is to overcome suffering, and disappointments are part of that suffering. So I would like you to think about more recent time that you had a disappointment. What was your more recent disappointment? Just take a moment to think about that. I remember mine, because all the time, we experience disappointments. I would like to categorize this, disappointments basically to two different parts. One is disappointments related to incidents or circumstances, or situations. We expect certain situation to be in particular way, but it didn't turn out in that way. So disappointments with related to situations or circumstances or incidents. That is one thing. The second disappointment is actually disappointments with regard to people. We expect something from other people, but it didn't happen. So disappointments with regard to people. And sometimes that person can be, sometimes we even can be disappointed with ourselves. So anyway, so we can have two different kinds of disappointments: disappointment with situations and disappointment with persons. And so when we think about these two things, two kinds of disappointments, and when you reflect on our own life, it's very common that we all experience disappointments of all these two kinds continuously. I would like you to think about what is your most recent disappointment? Is it regard to a situation, or is it regard to a person? My recent disappointments is with regard to a situation. We organized an event and for the Buddhist Center. So we were planning to do our event in outside. So we thought that weather would be nice, or weather would be okay to have our event outside. But so even the weather forecast said that it is going to be good weather, but in that morning we start to have rains. So all what we planned, we had to reschedule, and we had to change our plans, and all the planning has to be changed. That was my disappointment. The day we planned did not work out the way we planned. So sometime it could be due to people. We expect people to reply us. Maybe it could be related to your friends and families. Mostly when we think about disappointments with regard to people, the people who disappoint you the most are the people you know you the most, or people who are who you trust, right? And could be family members, your friends, maybe your colleagues, and so they are the one may disappoint us. And so it is very common. I think there can be minor disappointments, and there can be really big major disappointments. So minor disappointments we experience every day, and every time we had such an disappointment, it's painful. It's not smooth, and then we move forward. But there can be heavy disappointments with the big changes. Could be like a failure. I mean, maybe like a sometimes failure of like a business failure. Could be relationship failure. Maybe education failure. So there can be really big disappointments in our life too, like what is bringing big change. So disappointments happen all the time in our life. Actually, if we really pay attention to these disappointments, in the kind of disappointments we are experiencing every day, minor disappointments like people are late to come to our meetings, maybe people do not reply as we expect, and whenever we order something online and when it arrives and we realize that it's not exactly the same, there can be so many moments of disappointment. Every day we will have some moments of disappointment. So if we really pay attention, we should be very used to disappointments, right? Because it's happening every day. It should be something that we are very used to. But whenever it happens, we get shocked, as if we didn't experience it before. And so therefore we had to start to look at this disappointment in a different way. I'd like to share one story that we can find in the commentaries, in the Dhammapada. in the Buddhist text Dhammapada, we have a commentary to that Dhammapada. There's an interesting story in that Dhammapada commentary, where Buddha counseled a farmer who had a big disappointments. Minor disappointments we can handle. We can discuss them later. But the major disappointments are very difficult to handle, because it can be like life-changing. It can have a big impact on our life. So in this situation, this is about a farmer. In the Dhammapada, there's a verse starting from Tanhaya Jayati Soko. That means, sorrow or disappointments occurs in our mind through craving, and that is the beginning of this verse. Story behind this verse is actually Buddha. When the Buddha was traveling for his alms round, he used to pass by a paddy field, a rice field. So Buddha met a farmer. So Buddha met that farmer when this farmer was preparing the ground. He was tilting the ground and preparing the ground for a new season. So Buddha met him, so had a conversation with this farmer, and farmer said to the Buddha, I'm going to cultivate this, rice field, and I'm preparing the ground. And then again, after a few days, Buddha happened to work on the same path, and then Buddha met the farmer again. And this time he had already prepared the ground. He is now preparing to plant the seeds. So he was so happy. So he was sharing with the Buddha, today I'm planting the seed. So again, so this took few months. So after some time, Buddha, whenever Buddha travel in that direction, this farmer will meet the Buddha, and Buddha happened to pass this rice field in all major occasions of this, cultivation. And then one day Buddha passing by this paddy field, the farmer was putting fertilizers and taking care of the of his plants, the rice plants. And then again, he had the sharing with the Buddha, and had a conversation with the Buddha. So a few months passed by, and Buddha happened to experience major stages of his farming. And now these rice plants are very, mature, and now they are have rice, and they are about to a good time for harvesting. So the farmer told the Buddha, Venerable Sir, now I'm so glad. Now my rice are ready to harvest. In two days, I will collect my harvest, and that will be, the happy day for me. And I would also like to offer you dhan from my harvest. So Buddha was happy, and the farmer was also happy. Farmer was preparing to collect his harvest after many, many months of hard work, many, many months of preparation. Now was so happy to collect his harvest. But just before the day that they planned to collect the harvest, there was a heavy rain, and there was a heavy flood. That heavy flood destroyed the whole rice field. All the matured, nice rice, everything was underwater. The whole paddy field was destroyed. The farmer was so devastated, because he was expecting to collect the harvest the next day. And just one day before this happened. And now the farmer was so extremely sad, extremely devastated, and Buddha remembered, Buddha remembered this farmer, and Buddha remembered how he was preparing to collect this harvest, and Buddha knew this about this heavy rain and flood. And Buddha really wanted to help this farmer, because Buddha has been witnessing all major steps of his cultivation. So then, and Buddha purposely went to see this farmer, and he was lying on his in his house and don't know what to do, and he's suffering so much with pain, disappointments. and the sorrow, what happened, he cannot believe it. So he was so sad when Buddha went to see him. And as soon as the farmer saw the Buddha, he was more sad because he remembered how Buddha was passing this farmer in major stages of his farming, and he also remembered what he told the Buddha, that he will bring dana from his harvest. He was so sad. But Buddha said, sit down with him, and Buddha wanted to help him to get out of his sadness, get out of his disappointment. This is a heavy disappointment. And Buddha told the farmer, the reason of your pain, because the farmer was not only that, his harvest was destroyed, and then this is like this harvest could have been enough for his farmer and his family to survive for many months. So not only the farmer lost his rice and his rice, but at the same time now the farmer is so painfully, like he has lost his mind, was so much in pain, and Buddha first wanted to help him to get out of his pain. And Buddha taught him that farmer, the pain, the heaviness that you are going through right now in your heart is not necessarily due to the loss of your harvest. And the farmer said, no, I'm sad, I'm so painful because I lost the harvest. And the Buddha said, no, it is not simply the loss of harvest that creates pain in you. There's something else. And the farmer was interested in knowing that. What is that? And Buddha said that it is not only the loss of the harvest, but actually it is your mind, how you think about this incident, and how you interpret this incident, how you see this incident. And that is what creates this pain in you. And I'm here to help you to release that pain, and then you can start a new day. And Buddha uttered that Dhammapada verse, tanhaya jayati soko, tanhaya jayati bhayam, tanhaya vippamuttassa nat soko puto bhayam. And then, of course, Buddha explained the meaning and helped this farmer to relate to this meaning deeply. The simple translation of the verse says that, our sadness and sorrow comes from our self-centered craving, and our fear also comes from self-centered craving. And once we manage our self-centered craving, attachment, and then gradually reduce it, and then eventually eradicate it, and there'll be no sorrow, no sadness, no fear. But then Buddha further helped this farmer to understand that one thing is that because this farmer has such high expectation from his harvest, he has a lot of plans what he would do with this harvest. Of course, he was planning to give dana to the Buddha, but not only that, he has many plans from his harvest. Now all these plans is adding the weight of his suffering. And then, because this incident is so devastating, such a big loss, now he thinks that he will never be able to overcome from this loss. And he's thinking that I'll be poor forever, and I will not be able to do what I plan to do, and this is the end of my effort. So he was interpreting this one incident as the end of life, so to speak, as as if he lost everything. And Buddha helped him to understand that what you lost is only one harvest, but you did not lose your ability to farm. You did not lose your skills. And of course, this harvest is lost, but your ability to farm is still with you. And this flood is not going to be there forever. The flood going to recede, and then you will get another opportunity to cultivate. Of course, this is a big loss, definitely. And then also Buddha also help him to understand how, certain things in our life, and particularly, the nature, what is happening in the nature is not something that we can control. So therefore, Buddha help him to understand this situation, and mainly to look at this loss of harvest in a new way. First, explain him that the pain, the heaviness he's going through uh, is worsened by the way he think about it. And of course, definitely his attachment to harvest, that is very normal, very common. That is one thing, is, attachment to harvest, definitely. And the second one is how he, because his heavy expectation, because he has so many plans, and that is adding to his suffering. And then the third one is that because now he will never be able to overcome, and he will be poor forever, and he will, and thinking that so disappointments are common and normal, but turning disappointments to devastation, like turning disappointments to like big devastation in our life, is what we do in our mind. So how the Buddha helped this farmer to understand the role of his own mind in this suffering, in this sadness, and help him to change that. So after talking to the Buddha, although it was a big loss for him, and definitely it's disappointment is it's something, it's a very, very heavy disappointment, but he realized that we cannot blame the nature, and nature is something that we cannot control. And then at the same time, and he understood that he still had the opportunity to bounce back. He understood that one moment of disappointments, one heavy disappointments, or one heavy loss, or one failure is not the end of the story. And even sometimes this failure can be a learning experience. Next time he can plan better. He can watch weather more closely. He can plan better. So every failure can help him to grow. So after talking with the Buddha, the farmer was able to look at his loss in a different way. And still he had the pain, definitely. Still he had the consequences, and his family didn't have enough to eat the next few months, and it was difficult for them to live through that month. But somehow, because of the advice of the Buddha, the farmer realized that he should not attachment to anything, and he should not even interpret one incident as the end of everything. And also he realized that he did not lose his ability to farm, and therefore no matter how many times, even in future, no matter how many times he may lose his harvest, but he can still cultivate, he can still work, because his ability to farm is not lost. So therefore the farmer was really lying down, and he was like, he has given up everything. He was so sad, he was not eating, and he was depressed and disappointed when the Buddha visited him. But after talking to the Buddha, the farmer was able to sit down, and then had a new goal in his life, but this time with a different level of expectations, without so much strong attachment, and also without so much expectation. So then therefore he was able to start the day again and plan for the next season to farm. So that's how the Buddha helped this farmer. I think so this story and many other stories can help us to deal with our own disappointments, mainly disappointments with situations. Sometimes our investment in the business can be failed, and sometimes what we our projects, what we plan to help others, some projects they can fail, and then our organization may not progress as we expect. So those things can happen, and some people may fail their exams. And those things can happen, but learning from this story, what we have to learn is to understand that actually these disappointments are not strange, and definitely, they are the parts of the life. When Buddha explained the Four Noble Truths, when he explained the first truth, he included this, this vulnerability for us to, like, to have this experience, not getting what we want, not getting things as we plan. It's part of the, the first truth, and that is normal. Therefore, and it is common. And what Buddha said about the first truth. First truth we have to deeply understand. And in the Buddhist tradition, what we try to eradicate, what we try to overcome, is not the suffering, but actually the cause of suffering. With regard to suffering, what we have to do is to deeply understand the suffering, and what we call abhinyaya. And we don't try to eradicate suffering. We don't try to, fight with the suffering. What we try to eradicate, what we try to get rid of, is not the suffering, but the cause of suffering. And definitely then eventually suffering will be ended. So therefore, when it comes to suffering, what the Buddha's advice is to understand it, understand the nature of the suffering, understand it, how it arises in our mind, but then pay attention to the cause of suffering. So the cause of suffering is what we have to abandon, or pahattabba. It's not the suffering that we try to overcome, it is the cause of suffering. So therefore, when it comes to disappointments, what we have to do is actually to understand it and accept it. So therefore, so when it comes to situations, and those situations can occur, and there can be minor disappointments, there can be major disappointments. And then, of course, minor disappointments will be easy to handle. We get some pain for a while, we get upset for some time, and then we can bounce back. But when the heavy disappointments occur, something that have a big impact in our life, it is very difficult. But then we should remember that these things are actually the part of our life. And of course, as you remember, Buddha has explained about 8 vicissitudes in our life, 8 different, opposite experiences in our life. Buddha talk about 8 such things. Sometimes we also call them 8 worldly winds, like a winds come in, but 8 worldly winds, or 8 vicissitudes. Do you remember those 8? Right? All the time we talk about it, right? These 8s are rotating one after the other. Like labo, alabo, gains and losses. We may have gains one time, and another moment we have a loss. So gains, or maybe let's say profits and losses. That is one pair. Ayaso yasocha, honor and dishonor, or maybe honor and dishonor, or like some, it's like honor or dishonor. And the second one is ayaso yaso. Again, that is a status in our life. So we can have 2 opposite experiences, and the ninda prasansa, praises and blames. So we can have profits and losses, and we can have honor and dishonor, and we can have praises and blames, and then we can have happiness and suffering. So those are the 8 vicissitudes, or maybe 4 pairs. 4 pairs, but 8 vicissitudes. So these 8, profits and losses, honor and dishonor, praises and blames, and then suffering and happiness. So these 8 vicissitudes are seen as like a wheel that rotate one after the other. If we have a profit, if we have a gain, definitely there will be a loss also on the way. If we had a moment of happiness, there'll also be a moment of suffering on the way. And also, if we have a moment of suffering, there'll be also a moment of happiness on the way, right? If we get a blame, definitely that's not the end of the cycle. There'll be praises coming to us on your way. And if you get a praise, don't forget, there'll be blames coming your way too. So this 8 vicissitudes is happening all the time. And so usually what happens is that whenever we receive good sides, whenever we receive profits or gains, praises and happiness, and we become fooled about it, and we take those things for granted. So what the Buddha's advice is not to be fooled by them. These are temporary. Don't be arrogant because you got a loss or you got to praise, because other things are also going to come. And when we get bad side, like blames or losses or dishonor or suffering, and we get really upset and disappointed and depressed, not knowing the cycle. So when it comes to the disappointments with situations, and we have to remember these 8 vicissitudes like a cycle. This is going to change, come back and forth again and again. We just have to face them as evenly as much as possible. So therefore, the advice of the Buddha would be accept disappointments as part of the life. As part of the life. Accept them. But that's not the end of the story. We always can learn from them. So accepting is is one way to deal with them. But that doesn't mean we will not do anything after that. But accepting it allows us to give ourselves some peace. Then that will allow us to plan again, plan differently. The next thing. So we first have to have that space in our mind to plan. So in order to do that, we have to have some understanding and acceptance of the disappointments. So our goal is actually preventing our disappointments turning into devastations, turning into really bad suffering. But simply stay at the level of disappointment. It's common that we will have these moments of disappointment. But then the second type of disappointments is disappointments with regard to people. I'm sure that you had so many such experiences, like disappointments with regard to people. Could be minor disappointments, like being late to a meeting, or could be like a major disappointments, like completely not breaking promises, and then cheating. So there can be such incidents in your life, and how we can deal with them, when people disappoint us. And so there actually we have to understand that whenever we are disappointed with a person, and that disappointment is closely connected with our expectations. Usually it says that the mother of disappointments is expectation, right? The mother of disappointments is expectation. The disappointments can only occur when we have certain expectations in our mind. We have certain expectations, certain desire, and that is when disappointments can occur. And if you don't have any expectations, and of course there'll be no disappointments. But it will be very hard for us to live our normal life without expectations. Of course we have to have some expectations in order to live our life. For example, when you got this email that there'll be a Dhamma talk this evening, of course it's naturally you expect that when you join the link, I'll be there, right? And so we cannot avoid having expectations, right? And and so therefore we need to have some expectations to live our life, to plan. Of course, you have to, have some expectation about tomorrow, at least basic ones, right? Tomorrow when I wake up, the sun will rise. Right? There'll be morning, So we live on expectations. But what we have to remember is that actually how specific we are going to be with regard to these expectations. So when it comes to people, if we have specific expectations of the people, definitely we are going to experience a lot of disappointments. For example, if you have a specific expectation, from your children, from your partners, from your family members, from your friend, you imagine, okay, this person will bring me this gift on this day. If you have such expectations, like specific expectations, definitely you'll be disappointed, because the others have their own plans, and how our expectation will not be definitely fulfilled. Therefore, when it comes to people, it's okay to have some expectations, some kind of goal, but we have to make them very loose. So if you have a specific expectations, very strict expectations, definitely we will experience disappointments. So actually, the reason that we experience disappointments with regard to people is mainly how we expect them to behave. And of course, it also partly due to how the other people behave, their own patterns of behavior, their own life, the way they live their life. But what we can pay attention to from our part is to understand the level of our expectation. So in order to not to be disappointed with people, what we can do, maybe you can lower your expectations, or you can keep your expectation loose, and then understand the nature of the people. So therefore, I would like to give you a few guidelines, how to deal with this kind of situations. And with regard to people, it's an opportunity for us to understand the human mind, our own mind, and also the mind of other people. And whenever someone disappoints you, take that moment as an opportunity to reflect on the nature of human mind. This is how people behave. This is how we are victims to our own defilements. If anybody cheated you, if anybody tried to take advantage from you, if anybody purposely did something bad, break your trust, and that is those people's weaknesses. So everyone is still with defilements. Everyone is still vulnerable to be victims to their own defilements. Therefore, one way to think about, one way to use our disappointments to improve ourselves is to understand the nature of people, nature of minds, and also understand, I could have been doing the same thing, because I'm also vulnerable to my own defilements. So therefore, we have to watch our own defilements, and will I do the same thing to someone else? We can ask that question. Will I also cheat someone else? Will I also take advantage from other person? We have to question ourselves. And learning from others' defilements, we have to watch our own defilements and use that opportunity to make some changes within ourselves. So with regard to people, that's what we can do. And Buddha had to deal with so many such situations, and even people who like disciples of the Buddha, and when they come to the Buddha and they were with defilements, and sometimes they did not practice as Buddha expect them to practice, but the Buddha understood the human mind. Buddha was so compassionate, and Buddha kept guiding them, no matter how many times they disappointed the Buddha. Now, of course, actually, Buddha is not getting disappointed anyway, but no matter how many times those people failed in their practice, but the Buddha kept advising them, without losing without giving up on them. Buddha continue to guide them because he has deep understanding of human mind. Therefore, for us too, if someone, disappointed you, it's a good opportunity for us to understand human mind. Don't take it personally. And usually the reason that we experience so much pain when someone cheated us, when someone took advantage from us, when someone broke a promise, we take it very personally. We think that that person did that thing to me. Why he did it to me? Do I deserve that? He shouldn't be doing it to me. I was so helpful to that person. Why he's doing it to me? And the more you think that way, why he did that thing to me, more you take it personally, and you will have so much pain. What we had to do is actually think about that. That person definitely did that thing to you, did that thing to me, but this is not the only time he might have done this. And I'm not the only one who got cheating from that person. If that is that person's behavior, that is that person's level of defilements. So I just happen to be one. And then generalize it and try to understand the nature of the human mind. And you think about that is like, what I experience is only one instance. And it's, that person may have that particular weakness, that particular bad behavior, and it's not about me. It's not only me. That is, he might be doing it to other people too. And then we have to have deep compassion instead of having anger, or frustration. So therefore, not taking it personally is very important. So accepting the disappointments as normal part of the life, and accepting that people are not perfect. They are still vulnerable to defilements. I am also vulnerable to defilements. I'm also trying my best with the guidance of the Buddha, guidance of the Dhamma, with the guidance of his spiritual teachers and friends to overcome my defilements. Many other people have not got that opportunity to also. So develop deep understanding and compassion towards them. Then we can reduce our own level of frustration and pain, and then we can move forward. And then start working with other people. Because sometimes when one person disappointed us, we started to doubt everyone. And definitely it's good thing to not to have fixed expectation from anyone. It's very good practice. Not fixed expectations. Just lose expectations. And it's good. But we should never lose the hope, or we should never lose the interest of working with others just because we had bad experience with people. Because the same person who disappointed you can recognize his own failure, own weaknesses, and come back and change and have a better interaction next time. So nobody's fixed. So therefore, it's okay to have a loose expectations, but we should never lose the hope of other people. So therefore, these are the guidelines I can give you. So one is understand deeply that disappointments are part of the life. We are not going to be away with them. It's a very, very simple thing. And next time when you have a moment of disappointments, just laugh about it and say, oh, here it is again. Here it is again, and this normal thing in my life, and accept it. And then understand it's very common, and don't take it personally. You are not the only one who has been disappointed, and don't take it personally. Try to understand it's a common thing. It's happening to everyone, and this is very common. This is part of the life, and we have wisdom from the Buddha to overcome them. And what we have to pay attention is not to the disappointments, but to what causes the disappointments. That is our own mind, our expectations, mainly our fixed expectations, our craving, our attachment, the way we think about it, how we traumatize it, how we catastrophize it, how we make it more than what it is. And then we pay attention to the second one, is to pay attention to our own mind and think about what causes this disappointments in me, in addition to that incident, in addition to that person's behavior. What is my expectation? What is my attachment? What my mind added to this, and pay attention to that and try to start to change it. Try to loosen our expectations. And so that is actually using the disappointments as opportunity to understand human mind and understand the nature of human mind and understand human nature, and that will help us to improve our own wisdom. And on the other hand, the other one is actually disappointments are also good opportunities for us to learn the Dhamma, because any moments of disappointments is indicating to us that this is where I had to work, and I had to, so this is where I need to work on. And it's a good opportunity for us to learn the Dhamma. And mainly in the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha is explaining the nature of the universe, the nature of the existence. And the main part of the existence is impermanence. We know that. And everything in the world is impermanent, and everything is like dependently arising. So the whole existence is interdependence or dependently arising. So what we call 𝗏𝗵𝗏𝗪. So everything is in a causal connection to each other, and everything arises due to causes and conditions. So that is how the world is operating. So disappointments, any moments of disappointments, are opportunity for us to take a moment and to reflect different causes and conditions that generated that situation, to understand the impermanence of the existence, and understand the causal and the interdependent nature of everything, and how nothing is permanent, nothing is stable, but everything is leaning to each other, everything is depending on each other, and then understanding this interdependent nature. And that is what we call even emptiness. So any disappointments is a good opportunity for us to take a moment to learn the more Dhamma. If you think about the time of the Buddha, many disciples who became prominent disciples of the Buddha are people who had very serious disappointments in their life. Think about Kisa Gotami, the mother who lost her only child. What a disappointment is that. Of course, it's what a sad story. But that disappointments help her to look into the true nature of her life. You can think about all other main disciples of Buddha. Many had major disappointment in their lives, but they used their disappointments as a way to understand the Dhamma. Actually, the disappointments can help us to wake up, because when everything is nice, everything is smooth, we can be foolish, and sometimes we can also be intoxicated in a way, actually. And Buddha talk about different ways that we can be intoxicated, or we can be blinded, not only through the intoxicating drinks and drugs, but we can also be intoxicated or fooled by things, by the good things. When everything is happening smoothly, we may be fooled. We will have a wrong understanding of the world. So, but the moments of disappointments are waking us up and telling us to understand the to reality of the life. Therefore, many disciples of the Buddha used their disappointments to learn the deep Dhamma. So if we have really bad moment of disappointments, that's a doorway, that's an avenue for us to look into the Dhamma more, deeply understand the nature of existence and the impermanent nature. Therefore, so I would like to remind you again, what are the things that we can do when we experience a disappointment. I gave you main 4 guidelines. One is to understand that disappointments is a part of the life, and therefore accept it. So here comes again, just have that kind of attitude. It's painful, it's not nice, it's not comfortable, but we try to understand, try to accept them as part of the life. And then second one is actually loosen our expectations of people and situation. Do not have fixed expectations, or strict expectation, or specific expectation, but keep our expectations loose. You plan something, there's a saying that, right? You plan for the, I mean, we can plan things well, but our expectation can be loose, right? So I try to do it, many times in my own life too here. Like whenever we plan things, we plan perfectly, but at the same time, I keep some room in my mind that things will not happen the way I expect them to happen. Because we know that, it's not natural, nothing will happen as we expect them. Nothing will happen as we desire them, because nature has its own working, like independent origination. Therefore, we can plan things, but at the same time, keep some room in the mind to accept if anything go wrong, and we accept it. So therefore, that is one is to accept it, understand and accept it as part of the life, and then keep our expectation loose. And then the third one is use disappointments as an opportunity to learn the human mind, understand the human nature, other people, ourselves, and also use the disappointments as an opportunity to study more Dhamma, as an avenue, as a opening, as a door for us to dwell into the more Dhamma, to understand the deeper nature of the reality. So those are the things we can do. But I would like to add one more thing, actually. Sometimes when things failed, when things doesn't happen the way you want, we always think that it is bad. But, given the nature of, constant change of the world, we should not think that all our disappointments are bad, all our failures are bad. I can give you one good example from my own life experience. So this Buddhist center that I'm living right now, we moved to this place 3 years ago. We were in a smaller place before. And then when our community started to grow, and we want to go to a bigger place, particularly we are looking for a bigger hall. And so we had a committee, we were looking for different places. And then actually we found one nice big church on sale, and it has a nice big hall, a very solid building, and nice place. So I was so happy. And it's also affordable. We had a building fund, it was affordable price. So I was so happy that we got this church with this nice building to what we can afford. So I was so excited, and everybody get together, and we want to buy this church. But more we research into it, more of our local American friends, devotees, came and told me that, Bhante, don't go there. That area has drug trafficking. The people, and there are also some shootings happening in that area. There's some drug cartel is on action in that area. So, and I realized that is why this, place is like affordable. It is a lower price. So I was so disappointed that, we could not, buy that nice building because the environment is not that good. And so it's not a safer environment to live. So I was so disappointed. So I think that I lost a great opportunity, what a loss. And again, we kept searching. A month later, we found another church. And this is, very good neighborhood, no, issues with the neighborhood. And I was so happy. That place is even bigger than the previous place. Although it is a little bit more expensive than the previous place, but this one has more land and more nice buildings. So I was so happy. And then we want to buy this place. And just before we buy that place, and there were many other buyers, and the one person made a bigger offer than us. There's one person who would like to buy that land, even giving a higher price than us. And therefore, we didn't have enough funds to buy that. So I also lost that opportunity. And I was so disappointed because now two churches, they're these beautiful places, but I didn't get it. But what happened next? About 2 months later, we found this place. Actually, this is not a church, but this is like a, used to be an office building, but it's like a cabin house with wooden house, beautiful house, next to a creek, and surrounded by the woods. And this is such a perfect place for a temple. And earlier I was so disappointed that I was not able to, get those churches. But now, looking back, I realized that actually those failures that were good. If we bought such a church, we will never be able to count this nice place, which is more appropriate for a temple, with this nice creek and surrounding woods and quiet environment. So those times I didn't have wisdom to understand. I was disappointed, but now I realize that actually those failures happen for good, for a good reason. And so now it is I have learned a life lesson. If any disappointments happen in my life, I don't think as the end of the story, and I also don't think it's as negative. It could be an opportunity for a better circumstance to come. So don't think that all your disappointments are bad. I had 2 disappointments, but they were not bad because those failures helped me to have better place to have. Therefore, not all disappointments are bad too. So sometimes we can have positive attitude towards your disappointments. If you lost one opportunity, that means that will allow you to look into more other opportunities. If you lost one chance, and that doesn't mean the end of the story, and that will help you to focus your attention to other opportunities, other chances, and that will be even better. But anyway, coming back again, first, understand and accept disappointments are normal part of the life. Let's try to be with them, and they are very common. And try not to get rid of the disappointments, but try to get rid of the cause of disappointments, that is expectations and craving. So therefore, the second one is actually to loosen our expectations, loosen our expectations and keep them very light. And the third one is actually use our disappointments to understand the human mind, understand the nature of the people, understand our own mind. And the fourth one is actually use the disappointments as an opportunity, as an avenue to dig into more Dhamma, understand the impermanent nature, understand the interdependent arising of the whole existence. And in addition, maybe we can have a positive attitude that not disappointments are bad. They're simply giving us a new way to look at this, and that or disappointments may be opening a door for a better chance for us too. But these are the guidelines I would like to share with you. But now I can give you some opportunity for you to maybe ask some questions and have some clarification. Anyone would like to make a comment or ask any question?
Hello, Bhante.
Yes, brother.
How are you doing? Thanks for the Dhamma sharing. Can I just ask a question? For myself, sometimes what we are dealing with is not just about disappointment in life, but more of anxiety about the future. Meaning to say that even before that thing happens, we already have dukkha, Okay, maybe because of certain expectation that we have, right? And we are not sure whether will we be disappointed if that thing does not happen. So I'm just want to ask Bhante, how should we manage our own expectation in anticipation of things that we cannot control, or maybe we think we can control, but essentially is out of our control. Thank you, Bhante.
Yeah. So, brother, you're asking that, like we may have like even before uh, we start something, but we still can have fear of disappointments.
That's right.
Like
That's
fear
right.
of disappointments, right? Yeah. Yes. Yes, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I think that's a very common, common experience we all have, fear of disappointments. Brother, this happens when you have a really bad experience in previously. When you have really, let's say you were doing a business with group of people and they didn't do well, they cheated you, and now you have fear of disappointments. When you start next business, you have this fear of disappointments. Yeah, it's a very good um, question, brother, because sometimes it can even be with regard to people. Is one person, broke our promise. If one person, if we lost a trust in one person, and then we have a fear of disappointments when we reach, when you want to have a relationship with others. That really can happen. This is, brother, about balancing. So we should definitely learn from our previous experiences, right? So what we had to do is actually, as I mentioned, maybe loosen our expectations, but then maybe like having fear of disappointments, right? Fear of disappointment is going a little bit more extreme. It's okay, actually. What we had to do is, it's okay to have disappointments. It's not something we should try to hide or like avoid or run away from. Disappointment itself is okay, but what we have to do with to deal with the cause of disappointment, which is expectations and craving and attachment. So it's about balancing, brother. How we can balance, how we can learn from our previous experiences, but not use previous experience as a trauma to get develop fear of the future experience and future thing. So I think fear of disappointments comes when we are not ready to accept the disappointments. So one way to understand that, okay, it's okay to learn from my previous experiences, but I'm still going to live my life. I'm still going to work with other people. I'm still going to plan things in life. But I'm going to keep my expectation loose. And then if any disappointments happens, that's okay. Adding, yeah. So that's okay. So so the fear of so disappointment themselves are not necessarily bad. So I think we cannot, when we cannot accept disappointments, we are afraid of them. It's okay. Let's go forward, right? So I think that is what I can share with you, brother. Again, learning from the past experiences and loosening our expectations as a result of that, but willing to accept. If things fails, willing to accept. That's okay, and that will not destroy everything in our life. If another person cheated you, that's okay. And so I think it's like we still have to keep trust on people's goodness. While people are victims of their own defilements, people also have goodness too. Everyone can become a bodhisattva. Everyone has the potential, although not everyone will grow it, but everyone has the potential. So let's try to find the balance, brother. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or thoughts about that? Thank you, Sister Yishin, for summarizing the key points of the teaching, the key points of the Dhamma talk, and it's really nice. Thank you very much. Okay, any other sharing thoughts or questions? Okay, Sister Yishin, can we then conclude and transfer the merits and conclude?
Thank you, Bhante.
Yes. Okay, so I hope that I did not disappointed you.
No, I'm very happy.
Sorry. No, it's common, you could have been, maybe you're expecting a little bit different, Dhamma talk, It's also a good opportunity for us to for us to learn about, to keep our, so always it's good idea to keep your expectation very loose, even when you go to a Dhamma talk, even when you go to temple, keep your expectation loose. Don't make it fixed.
Yes.
And the more you make it fixed, the higher chance of getting the. So thank you very much for your participation. I'm so glad to see you all. Let us now take a moment to share our merits with all other living beings, and many living beings need our compassion, our sharing of merits to make their life peaceful. Let us take this opportunity today. We spend our time and then listen to the teachings of the Buddha. We reflect on the teachings of the Buddha. By listening to this Dhamma for this long, we were able to keep our mind free from any unwholesome thoughts. We were reflecting the teachings of the Buddha, and our mind was pure, our mind was clear during this period. Therefore, we generated so much goodness, good merits, good karma in our mind throughout this session of listening to the Dhamma. Let us now share these merits, especially, first of all, with all our ancestors, our departed family members, and our great teachers. Let us think about them and share these good merits with them. All of our ancestors, departed relatives, and our teachers, may they all share these merits. May they be benefited from these merits. May they be well, happy, and peaceful wherever they may be. Idang mi ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idang mi ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idang mi ñātinang hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Let us also share these merits with all other living beings. Now, may all living beings in all 6 realms share our merits. May all living beings continue their journey towards the enlightenment. May all living beings finally attain the sublime peace or bliss of Nibbana. Etta 𝗏𝗃 𝗵𝗃 punya sangpadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sangpatti siddhya. Ettavata amhi sambhatang punya sangpadang sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sangpatti siddhya. Ettavata amhi sambhatang punya sangpadang sabbe sattha anumodantu sabba sangpatti siddhya. Sadhu, sadhu. Okay.
Thank you, Bhante. We also wish Bhante good happiness.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Bhante.
You're most welcome. Thero. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Bhante.
Oh, thank you, sister. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, this...
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
Thank you, Bhante.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you, welcome. Yeah, welcome. Nice to see you,
Thank you,
Ananda.
Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, welcome. Okay. Nice to see you, Ananda. Wish you all the blessings.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay.